So I just had the Hummer in the shop for a couple of days. Man, I love this thing. But yeah, I took it into Harvey's because there was a couple of things going on. For one thing, the stabilizers in the back were making a lot of noise when I was driving down the street, just like rattling around every bump I hit. And then on the dashboard, the thing popped up that said the four-wheel drive needed serviced and a couple of other small things. So took it in there. They did a great job as usual. And while it was in there, I decided to get it painted. Now, it's not painted yet, but we're going to take a walk around and look at it, and I'm going to tell you why I decided to have it painted, where I'm going to go, and how much it's going to cost. So as you can see from a distance, and I mean really we're only about 6 feet away from it, it doesn't look bad at all. This thing is in such great condition. It really doesn't need to be painted, but there's some issues that, or at least some concerns that may become issues if I don't take care of it. And this is a vehicle that I actually plan on owning for the rest of my life. I wanted a Hummer so bad for, well, ever since they came out. And now that I finally have one, I want to take care of it, and it's something that I don't ever plan on getting rid of. So let's just go ahead and take a look at some of these reasons why I wanted to go ahead and get it painted. And the first reason is that there's little things like these little chips in the paint. Those are in various spots around the whole Hummer. A couple more up here. There's really not a ton of them, but there's enough that if I left it alone, that could start rusting in there and it would be a problem. The next thing is up here. You can see where the clear coat is starting to peel, mostly all along the top here. Back here, it's pretty bad. And there's some spots like up here on the hood where it's starting to peel like that. You can see it pretty bad over here and up here. So that's another thing that could become a problem if I left it alone. Another thing was over here where this is peeling and it's actually starting to rust. While it was in the shop, I was talking to Kyle Harvey, and he said that I should get another door and have them paint it as well and put it on, because this rust has already begun under here, and that could be an issue. That could just come back basically if I have it painted over that. So before I even had a chance to look, he got online and he found me another door. Now this one obviously is gray, but this thing is in great condition. So they are going to paint the outside, the inside, so that the entire thing matches the finish on the Hummer. And that includes the this part here. You know, on the other door, they will paint all of this so that it's yellow and nothing looks off. And then, of course, they'll put all this back together. And the handle is different on the door that I bought, so they will put this one on there so that nothing will be, like, mismatched. Again, we have the little chips over here, some scratches. There's a few small scratches throughout, and there's this little dent right here that I'm going to have repaired too. It's really not that big of a deal, but it's one of those things that every time I see it, I'm like, man, I wish that wasn't there. So I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of. Back here, there is a very small spot that is beginning to rust, but they're going to get that all cleaned up, and that part they will paint over, but not before they do everything that they need to do to prepare it so that it isn't a problem later. The back actually looks pretty good here, and I mean the whole thing looks pretty good, but like I said, you know, there's just those few issues. The reason why I want to get it painted in the first place, especially before the bad weather comes again, because if snow is sitting on top of this thing, it will just eat it away even more than it is now, and all of this could become a problem. Which brings me to the last issue, and that is those lights up there. There are 4 lights, obviously. And if we step up here and take a closer look, you can see how the paint has just worn off of those all the way down on the top. So they're going to remove those, prepare them, and repaint those, as well as the whole roof here. So where am I taking it to get painted, and how much is it going to cost? Well, this is not a place that I would have chosen on my own, but in speaking to Kyle about it, he told me that Maaco does a really good job. Now, I've heard horror stories about Maaco before, but I looked up our local one. It has great reviews. There's only one bad review, and it's from somebody who didn't like the price that they gave them, so they didn't even have any work done. But every review other than that is perfect. Now, what I want and what I told them is a complete paint job. The entire thing painted, but in the exact same color. So basically I want it to look exactly like this, only fresh and new. So I went over today, I talked to the guy, we looked at every little spot on here, walked around the entire Hummer, and when we went in and he added everything up, it's going to be $1,600, which is less than half of what I expected it to cost. Now that's just the yellow. They're not doing any black on here. They're not doing like any of the little details, except for they are going to paint these as well as the ones on the back here. And these were painted actually by the person who previously owned this. You can kind of see this wasn't like a professional paint job on these, but they are going to paint those. They're not going to remove each and every little bit of trim on here. That would be a lot more money and a lot more time, but they are going to take off the lights on the top to paint those. I'm sure they'll take off a few of the other things where they need to gain access. They're going to take off things like this H2 decal here. And he did tell me that once I get it back, I'll have to wait a little while and then add those back on. So I think I'm going to order new ones. I actually have some really good stuff I ordered last year that will clean up this black stuff around here and make that shine really good, as well as all this trim, the mirrors, anything like that. And this bumper back here, which at some point I definitely need to replace at least this H and the M here, because you can see that those are kind of flaking. So I'll get to those later on. But for now, that's what's going on. This guy goes in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and they should have it for less than 2 weeks. And then I'll show you guys how it looks. Okay, so it's about 3 weeks later here. We just picked up the Hummer. It looks pretty awesome. I'm not sure how much difference you're going to be able to tell just from like looking at it from right here, because obviously it's still the exact same color. But I think you can see where it looks a lot more fresh and clean. It's nice and shiny. They did a really good job. We're going to look at some of the details that we looked at before I had it done. And I'm really anxious to get that that stuff out, the detailer, and do all the black and get it all nice and shining up and looking awesome. And like I said, I don't know how much difference you guys can tell from the wide shot here. I can definitely tell because I know exactly what was going on with it before I had it painted. So let's go ahead and take a close-up look at some of the spots that I was pointing out before I took it in. So on the driver's side here, there were a couple areas of concern. One of them was the tiny little dent that looked like it got shot with a BB gun over here, and that is completely fixed. That's non-existent now. I don't even see anything that that says that it was there. The other thing was this door here, and if you remember, it had rust over here somewhere, and it was peeling. Now, if you also remember, and it's funny that I say if you also remember, because you guys are just seeing this in like seconds, but for me, it's been 3 weeks. So you remember I bought this extra door to have put on, specifically because of that rust, and they did not have to use it. They went ahead and cleaned this one up. You can't even tell that there was any kind of damage around there at all. So they did a really, really good job with that. Back here, there was some rust somewhere in this area, which right here, I think they could have done a little bit better job with that, if you can even see. But I can tell that that's where there was rust right there. And I believe it came around here, at least on the bottom, and that is all cleaned up and nice and smooth in there. Along this edge up here, as well as a bunch of other places, there was a lot of peeling clear coat, and as you can see, that is perfect now. They cleaned all that up, obviously painted it. Same thing up here on the hood. They got all that cleaned up and nice, and it looks great. There was also little tiny dings and, I don't know, pock marks or whatever you want to call them, little scratches and stuff all throughout the finish on the whole thing, probably from where the tires were throwing up little pebbles and stuff. Those are all taken care of. And the lights on the top, that was one of my main concerns. Let's climb up here, and you can see how they look 100% better. They removed the lights and they cleaned them all up. Remember, they had like 2 different colors of yellow going on. They were peeling. It was a mess. So those look really good. So everything that was a concern of mine, what made me want to get it painted in the first place anyway, is all taken care of. And I think it looks great. Nice, fresh coat of paint. And I'm very happy with it. The price was $1,675, which is actually much less than I expected to pay. I expected it was going to be about $4,000 at least. So $1,675. It took about 3 weeks. And let's talk about not really concerns, not necessarily negatives, just little things that I noticed along the way. So when I first took it in, it was a Wednesday. They first said it would be 2 weeks, then 10 days. Then they said, we'll have you out of here by next Friday. Honestly, I was hopeful, but I didn't really expect that it would be out of there by next Friday. I figured they were just kind of telling me what they needed to get me to, you know, to go ahead and buy the service, which I had not even indicated that I wasn't going to do. You know, I took it in there to have it painted. I wanted it painted. I was going to have it painted. So, but when that Friday rolled around, I did give them a call just to see what all was going on. And he said, it's all done. It's going to be going in on Monday to be detailed, and then we'll give you a call. So Monday rolled around, and they called me, and they said that around one of the door handles on the door, when they removed the tape, it pulled a little bit of the paint with it. Now, I know that was on this side over here, but I don't think it was this door. I think it was this back one. Regardless, no matter where you look, you can't see it at all, because he did say we're going to have to take it back in and repair that spot. So regardless of which one it was, you cannot see it at all. But anyway, according to him, they were going to take it in first thing on Tuesday morning and get that done, and then call me that day. I did not get a call on Tuesday, which I didn't really expect because it was the 4th of July. I did not get a call on Wednesday either, but we happened to be over in the area at Sam's Club, so I went ahead and called them, and I said, hey, we're in the area, should I swing by? And they said, well, we're still painting it, so we'll get it done. We'll give you a call tomorrow. Thursday comes, Friday comes, Monday comes, still no call. So I called them on Tuesday, and the guy said, I'm with a customer right now. I will call you as soon as I'm done. So I said, all right, good. 4 hours later, I still had not had a call back. And then he did finally call right at the end of the day. And he said, it's all good to go. You can come in and pick it up tomorrow morning at 9. So that's today. We went in at 9 and picked it up. And today is Wednesday, so it was exactly 3 weeks from the day that I took it in. Now, I'm not complaining about that. I really did expect it to take that long. The only problem I had with it was that communication. You know, they kind of flip-flopped on when it was going to be done, kept saying tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And, you know, ended up taking 3 weeks. So I'm just glad to have it back. I'm glad that it's done right. Now, when it comes to concerns with the paint job itself, honestly, there are not many at all. They did a great job. You can see along the edge of the flares here where there's a little bit of extra paint where they had taped it off, but that's not a concern to me at all. We agreed not to remove any of the little accessories, you know, the handles, the flares, anything, just to have it all taped off. I actually did want the stuff removed, and he talked me out of it. He said it's a lot more time, a lot more money, and his guy does a really, really good job with taping things off. So I did agree to that, and as you can see, they did a great job. There's just a tiny bit of paint along the edges on some of these places here, and that is no big deal at all. I'm probably even just going to replace this because, like, this is cracked down here. So when you pull on it, you can really see the crack. Going to try to get a new one of those anyway. And there's no place on here that I feel like they got too much paint where it didn't belong. In fact, I have to get really picky to find spots that, you know, to point to you. Like this tiny, tiny one right there, which is no concern at all. And then over here, up under this spot here, I don't even know if you can see that. Yeah, how it's just not perfect under there. But again, you know, that's completely covered by that, so it really doesn't matter to me. Tiny bit on this side as well. But like I said, you know, I really had to be picky to point this stuff out to you guys, because I did agree for them not to remove anything. Had I just said, no, I want it all removed and paint all the pieces 100%, then that would not even be an issue. So, you know, I have no complaints about that whatsoever. They did also paint these, which the previous owner had done kind of a crappy job painting them himself anyway. So you can see how there's like, you can tell that it's been painted by somebody else in their backyard. But they did put a coat on there and it brightened them up, as well as the ones on the back here. So it did make them look better. I did notice that it's still dull up here. So I'm not sure why they didn't completely finish that on there. And the same on this one. Really doesn't make that big of a difference anyway. I really don't care. I might even order new ones of those because I'm not sure I like the yellow. I think I do, but I kind of want black. The guy did kind of blame me for the issue that they had when they took off the paint, when they took off the tape, because he said, you know, I mean, when you don't want to pay to have that stuff removed. And I didn't say anything, but I was just thinking, I wanted it removed. You guys talked me out of it. So, regardless, though, it turned out good. So there it is, guys. Final word, $1,675 at Maaco, and I am perfectly happy with the job. And just to give you a comparison from what it used to look like to the new paint job here, like, I mean, you can see just how bright yellow this is here. But if I lift up the hood like this, you can see the parts inside that didn't get painted. And right here, you can tell a direct difference between that and this. So I think it looks great. Nice, fresh, new coat of paint, and looks good. All my concerns were handled.